What up, what up, what up, man? This is the next episode of the Speed Heat Podcast. Welcome in, welcome in. We're going to talk some ball, man. Crazy good weekend. Week 5 of college football. Week 4 NFL. Crazy weekend, Saturday, Sunday. There was so many good games this weekend. It was crazy. Thrilling endings. Just all types of different, exciting things happened over the weekend. We'll dive into some college football right now. Obviously Saturday, really was headlined by the two big games of the week. Obviously we had Georgia hosting Alabama, and Oregon traveling to Happy Valley, man, in a whiteout. And you can't ask for a better Saturday night than what we got. That's what Saturdays are made for, man. It was crazy from 12 o'clock noon all the way through until like 11 o'clock. Was crazy game after crazy game. So like, all I can say is I love football, man. I mean, weekends like this is, what you love the sport for. Obviously, like I was saying, Saturday night had, an epic two heavyweight matchups. But also, throughout the day, we had Illinois take down USC. We had multiple upsets. Obviously, Friday night, we had FSU go down. We had Ole Miss, we had Ole Miss take down LSU. Multiple overtime games. I mean, there was so much stuff that happened Saturday. There's gonna be a big rundown. So let's get it cracking, man. First off, really the main event really of the weekend, man. Top ranked game. We had Oregon traveling to Happy Valley in a whiteout game. Environment was absolutely insane. I think the attendance was 111,015. I think it's the second highest attendance at that stadium. Insane scene, man. Insane. The whiteout's always epic, but this matchup, this was on a different level, man. This was a heavyweight matchup if we've seen one all year. Very good game. Ended up going to overtime. Classic, really a classic game. Two major football teams, battling it out, and Oregon pulled it out, man. Went to double overtime, won 30-24. Really, and that score really doesn't show the first half of the game. The first half of the game was fairly low scoring. Both defenses really kept things in check. It was 3-3 at the half. Not a whole lot was going on, as in production wise. Second half, we saw Oregon come out and started to get a lead. Penn State was down by 17 at one point. And then they fought their way back, and they ended up, finishing very well, going to the close of the game. We saw Aller. Aller played well in the second half, but he kind of cost them. He threw a game-winning or a game-losing interception in overtime to seal the deal for Oregon. Dante Moore, for Oregon played really well. Had 3 touchdowns on the day. And just watching the game, the plays that he made, against a really good defense. I mean, both of these defenses are, some of the best in the country, but he really showed out against a really good team. Both defenses are elite, and I'm sure we're going to see both of these teams, in the postseason and potentially play again at some point. Potentially they could play again in the Big Ten title game. So, I would not hate that, because this was an absolute classic. Penn State loses another top 10 game. James Franklin, 4-21 since being at Penn State against top 10 opponents. So, he catches another L, and the criticism for James Franklin is going to probably continue, because it always seems like no matter what, no matter how good the team is, it doesn't seem like they can ever beat the best. When it's time to really play the best and beat the best, they always come up short, it seems like. So we'll see how Penn State answers. But I mean, at least for right now, Oregon really is kind of, I would say, in the driver's seat right now in the Big Ten. But just great game. Going into this game, the narrative is is Oregon going to be able to perform well on the road, crazy environment, insane noise level. Like we're talking 130 plus decibels, at this stadium. So like the environment is a part of the game in itself, and they completely aced that test. They played very, very well. Dante Moore played well. And I think, in my opinion, really coming out of this game, the questions, at least I have, is Penn State going to be able to get better from this? You obviously want to learn from their losses, but I mean, it just seems like that they continue to lose these big games, and it's like they don't get better from them. They just kind of stay the same. So, I mean, we'll see. I thoroughly enjoyed this game. This is a bucket list game for me, 100%. To go to a whiteout game, and Penn State generally is pretty good in whiteout games, and they played well in the second half. Defensively, they played well throughout the entire game. But Oregon went and got it done in a wild, crazy game. Went and really took it to Ohio State in the second half. But we're able to close it out in overtime, man. It was something else. It was something else, and we'll see where they go from here. I knew that this upcoming week, Penn State does travel out to Cali to play UCLA, a struggling UCLA team. So hopefully Penn State can rebound out in Cali, and then Oregon, they do have a bye week this week. Coming off of a big win, let's kind of get right, have a good week of practice. Go and have a week off, and then next week they play another big game. Another really big game. They host Indiana in Autzen, so that'll be a big game. So we'll see how those games play out. To start the weekend, man, we saw Illinois and USC at noon to kick off a crazy good Saturday, man. We saw a shootout between Illinois and SC, a quarterback duel. We saw both quarterbacks really, perform well. Jaden Mayava and Luke Altmaier, both threw for over 300 yards, multiple touchdowns, played really, really well. Obviously, Illinois is coming off of that loss, big loss against Indiana. But they look good. They went and showed that they're better than I think a lot of people are thinking, because they had that terrible loss last week. I think a lot of people jumped off the Illinois train, and I think they really righted the ship and responded and came out and played well. I expected a lot of points in this game. Both defenses are kind of middle of the pack, and both offenses, put up a lot of points and have really good quarterbacks. So I expected a lot of points in this game. I did think that SC would probably win this football game, but I think SC's defense continues to kind of show that they're the Achilles heel of this football team. At one point, we saw Illinois had firm control of this game. They were up 21-7 at one point, and Illinois they fumbled twice inside their own or inside the 5-yard line. They had 2 turnovers on the goal line. So this easily could have been a 35-7 game, and they would have cruised to a win. Those opportunities that they had, they did come up short, but they were able to close this game out. I think around a minute 55, SC goes down and they score, and they're up, and then they drive the field, with a minute left, and they kick a 41-yard game-winning field goal, and SC just could not get a stop, and Illinois gets a crazy good win. Obviously, they were playing at home, but they found a way. They really found a way. USC defensively, they continue to struggle. They've really, in my opinion, they've struggled all year. There's been signs throughout the year that has showed that their defense really is not getting better, and that's always been the Achilles heel for this team. Ever since Lincoln Riley's been there. So SC's got to figure it out on defense, because they've still got some tough games coming up. Obviously, next they have a bye week, but then they host Michigan. And Michigan's got a really good defense, so we may not see the points on the board like we saw this week with USC. So they're going to have to figure out a way to at least get some more stops to win these games. And then Illinois, they travel to Purdue this week. So hopefully they can continue and kind of get back on a win streak. Next, we saw really a defensive battle up in the Pacific Northwest. Man, we saw Ohio State really with their first kind of road test of the year. Um, they went to Washington and played a tough game. I kind of expected this game to be a lower scoring defensive battle, and that's exactly what it was. Just really like if you're not really knowing what you're seeing, you see Ohio State plays Washington, you expect them to go and like blow them out and and take care of business, but I kind of expected this game to go the way it did. Washington's actually got a fairly good defense. They're undefeated. They actually had, I think, a 22 game home winning streak, and Washington is a good football team. We saw really it was a very low scoring, first half. It was 7-3, at halftime. And Ohio State's offense just really couldn't get rolling. Washington really held their own on defense. I think Ohio State had 357 total yards on offense. So not a very, very great day on offense at all by a team that is used to putting up big numbers on offense. But Ohio State, they fixed some things and they kind of played better in the second half. Julian Sayin really didn't have a great day. He was decently efficient, but just overall number wise, just didn't have the greatest day. Second half, he played better. I think he had over 200 yards, a couple touchdowns. So he played okay, but I mean, this Washington team really held their own. So it was actually kind of impressive seeing them play so well against a team like Ohio State. But something that I kind of was looking at with this game is to see, what Ohio State was going to look like on offense. Because in my opinion, I think Ohio State has kind of, I don't want to say struggled, but they've looked fairly pedestrian at times on offense. Obviously, they opened the year with Texas, who's, and a very, very, very good football team, and, barely was able to put some points on the board. And then they played Ohio, and I think they scored 37 points in the game, but I think they only scored like 17 or 18 or 19 points in the first half of that game. So you started to see like what's going on with this offense. And then you see, obviously Washington's, has a good defense, but you started to see Ohio State kind of struggle again. And I'm just wondering, like, is there an underlying issue with this team? On offense, because this is not the same offense as it was last year, obviously. New quarterback, young quarterback, Julian Sayin, still getting broken in, as a starter. But I just wonder, this is like alarming to me. This is something I'm noticing, and I'm wondering if this is going to continue to carry on. Because if this does, I mean, Ohio State, they've got teams to play, and obviously they got Michigan at the end of the year. So, this is something I'm going to start to kind of pay attention to. Because I've noticed Ohio State has struggled a little bit on offense, and hopefully this doesn't continue. But this is something I think that people should be paying attention to. Next, Washington, they play Maryland. They got to go on the road, across the country, obviously. So we'll see how that game goes down. Maryland actually looks like a fairly decent football team, but hopefully, Washington can rebound. And actually, I think even though that they lost this game, I think it's actually a win for Washington that they played so well against such a good team. And Ohio State, they played Minnesota. Minnesota comes to the shoe, and we'll see how that game goes. We'll see how Ohio State's offense, if they can kind of get some things figured out and start producing the way that they should. If we're looking at Ohio State as a real contender as they are, but I feel like their offense needs to kind of step their foot on the gas a little bit. So we'll see how these teams progress from here. Next, we saw actually Friday night, man, a wild kind of shootout, man. We saw Chandler Morris and Tommy Castellanos, man, go back and forth, from the quarterback position, Epic ending, really. We saw, Virginia storm the field. Just things like this is the charm of the sport, man. This is a wild wild inning, wild game. And we see Florida State, catch their first L, man. We see them go to 4-1, and we also see Virginia Tech improve to 4-1. And Virginia actually is ranked. And but wild game. Both quarterbacks played clutch late. Both had really, really good fourth quarters. And really coming out of this game, it like to me, I'm looking at, before this game, obviously, like I looked at Virginia as a good football team. They've racked up some good wins. Their offense is playing very well. Chandler Morris is playing well. And obviously Florida State, they're still kind of living off of that win against Bama early in the year. And they put up some good points and, some good performances on offense. But they got, man. Virginia's a good football team. So I'm not surprised about this, but I expect Florida State to take care of business. Because next week, or this upcoming week, really, they gotta play Miami. Good football team, rivalry game. Obviously, they've played for a long time. FSU, Doak Campbell's going to be rocking, man. The chops are going to be out, and Miami's coming to town, and it's going to be a massive, massive game. Obviously, game of the week, and Virginia plays Louisville. They got to travel to Louisville, so hopefully they can keep that winning streak going. But wild game, wild ending. From here on, Virginia's schedule actually looks pretty manageable. So it looks like they could potentially look at 9 to 10 wins this year, maybe, and Florida State, they've got a couple more games on their schedule that, in my opinion, are losable. But wild game. Florida State giving up a lot of points, which defensively they've played pretty well this year. But we'll see what Florida State's really made of this week. When they play Miami. I think I probably got Miami in that football game, but it's gonna be a wild game. Doak Campbell's gonna be rocking, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. But Virginia got a big win and storming the field, and amazing Friday night, man. Next, we saw a really, really good game on paper, in my opinion. We saw Ole Miss and LSU, and I got my co-host Braden stepped in the studio. And he was watching this game, pretty closely. We saw Ole Miss go and take care of business against LSU. I kind of figured so, just because LSU's offense has been struggling, and Ole Miss can put some points up. And we saw a good game, but Ole Miss really closed this game out.
For sure. Keywan Lacey, had a game. He was pretty much their number one target the whole game, regardless of him being the running back, receiver. Man, Chambliss had a good game. 71 rushing yards.
Over 300 passing yards,
against an LSU defense that's considered top 10 for sure.
LSU's defense is elite for sure. They've got a very, very good defense.
So, they had a good game defensively early in the game, but Ole Miss really turned it on later in the game, and LSU's offense had no showing whatsoever to even make it a game, or I would say make it a game, but just.
It took them essentially three quarters to really get it going. They kind of tried to get back in the game late, but it was like they got back in it so late they didn't really have time to play with to get really, challenged to really get the lead. We saw, defensively, even the LSU's defense has been good all year. We saw Ole Miss drive the field on LSU. They had 4 drives of 70 plus yards where they scored 3 touchdowns and a field goal. Yeah. So Ole Miss still was able to drive the field on LSU. Ole Miss, was driving the field on LSU, throughout the game. So LSU's offense just really could not, get a rhythm at all. They really haven't had a great rhythm all year. No. This is a game that their offense really needed to step up, and they didn't. And Ole Miss still had 2 turnovers. They had 2 turnovers, in plus territory, and 14 penalties for 109 yards. So there was opportunity there for LSU to win this game, and their offense still just looks not very good. They only had 254 total yards.
And to top it off, man, their touchdown pass early in the game, it was a I don't want to say it was a fluke touchdown, but I mean, it's one of those is like, that's not going to happen much. It was a tip ball. It wasn't really a good showing on offense at all for LSU. I mean, their starting running back is out. I mean, that hurts to begin with. I've heard rumors that Nussmeier, that his torso is injured in a way. I don't know, but I mean, it's not looking good for the Tigers, man. I think the only good thing that happened in the game for LSU was that Brian Kelly didn't get trucked. Like at least he stayed on his feet this time.
I think he stayed clean this week.
I mean, dang, man.
I mean, if that's what we're really looking at, like as positives with LSU, then they've got some things to get right, man. It's not looking great for LSU because they still have got some tough teams to play, and they're going to have to move the ball. They're going to have to put some points on the board, and they just have not been able to do so far this year. So, crazy good win for LSU. I think a lot of times with LSU, they have struggled to win big games at times, and I think this is a game that maybe what kind of helps them get to the next level. I'm excited to really see Ole Miss, with the games that they've got left. They've got some tough games, but I think this is a good football team. This is a legit football team, and I think even the AP, they're ranked 4th, I think. So I think this is a very, very, very good football team, and I can't remember who they play next. But I mean they're a good football team. LSU's got some things to figure out, but I really like what I see on offense from Ole Miss. So yeah. And then next, we saw another really great game. Obviously, part of that amazing nightcap of games. We saw Alabama go between the hedges and grab a win, man. Again, Georgia loses another heartbreaking loss to Georgia. Great atmosphere, night game, in Athens, and we saw Alabama, go get a win. Ty Simpson played an amazing game. Probably the best game that he's played all year. Almost 300 passing yards, 3 total touchdowns. Obviously, counter to that, we saw Gunner. He had 1 touchdown, only 130 yards passing. So kind of the difference in the game, was the passing game. Alabama's passing game looked very, very crisp, on point, very, very on schedule. And we just, Georgia's just was very, very, it was just off. It was a heavy screen game, but, no vertical passing game really. There, obviously we saw the drop touchdown, but other than that, like there wasn't a whole lot down the field between the numbers, between the hashes. The pass game just didn't get going, and Bama came out strong first half. Bama didn't run the ball very well in this game, but I mean, they really didn't need to with the production that they had. They were up by 10? It was 24-14 at the half. And a stat that actually surprised me looking into the game is Alabama did not score in the second half and still picked up a win.
Yeah, that's diabolical, bro. Like that's, like you said if Georgia could go in the future and see that, and it was told like, hey, by the way, Alabama does not score in the second half. As a Georgia player and a fan, you're like, oh, we got this.
You're gonna win the game. Only down 10, and you're at home down 10, and they're not gonna score. You should win that football game. So it to me, like I see this Georgia team has got an issue on offense. They have got an offensive issue, in my opinion. I've been thinking it all year, and this game, in my opinion, proves that they have an issue. They have an issue on offense. They cannot move the ball very well. Especially, in a big game against a really, really good opponent like Alabama. They obviously struggled, man. Georgia had multiple opportunities in this game. Obviously, the drop touchdown that would have put a touchdown on the board. They passed on the field goal on the 4th and 1 inside their own 10, and just came up slightly short, man. And that really, like when that happened, there was 13 minutes left in the game, but the score never changed after that. They potentially could have just tied the game up and played from there. So, I mean, just the fact that Alabama never scores, you tie the game up, all you essentially would need in hindsight is a score and you potentially win the game. So, small things throughout a game, really determine the game. And then defensively, Georgia's got an issue. They cannot rush the passer very well. They had one sack in that game against Bama, and they've not really been great in other games this year either. And it's causing their secondary to struggle and give up big plays. It's not good. It's not a good look right now.
The defense, man, they're struggling to, like you said, to find ways to even get halfway to the quarterback, man. And I mean, good thing on good plays by Ty Simpson. He's dropping back like 10 yards or probably close to it, in his drop.
Something I noticed, there was his 7-step drops are very deep.
I mean, I think that was a good game plan against Georgia. I mean, we couldn't get to him, and Ty Simpson made it even harder to get it to him. So, I mean, hats off to Alabama's offense, bro, for just looking crisp off the rip. Big drop by Ryan Williams, though.
Early, yeah. That could have changed the game a whole lot early.
I mean, dude, that was key play. That should have been a key play. And like you said, number 11 dropping that pass too. And I really think the two biggest plays that hurt Georgia in the game, offensively, number 11 dropping the touchdown pass and just us going too quick on the 4th and 1 and not thinking about, the analytics of the sport. Yeah. So I think they
just tie the game up. Just tie the game. I get
you're struggling on offense. Why put your defense in a bad position if you don't get it, and also your offense as well. So
yeah, it just we'll see what Georgia does next. I want to see how they evolve and how they learn from this, because I feel like you learn from losses, and I just want to know what is Georgia going to do offensively to change things and to evolve this offense to actually be able to produce and put points on the board.
We've got the receivers to make plays downfield. We've got Gunner can throw the ball downfield. He can, but it's like the game plan isn't to do that. So without having that as an arsenal, I just don't think that we're going to be the potent Georgia team that we've always seen.
Yeah, to me it really, really seems like there's some type of underlying issue with a combination of just the execution in the passing game and just the play calling and what they've curated, through the offseason to this point, because it's early. This is not something that's evolved this season. This is early in the year, and they've been kind of struggling to pass the ball all year. So I feel like it's something that's happened through the offseason to where they've developed an offense to where they're not throwing the ball down the field. And I think they need to kind of take a look at what they're doing and to try to change some things up schematically. So, we'll see this week, man. They play Kentucky. They should beat Kentucky. But I think it's more of the game within the game.
It's almost even if we struggle with Kentucky now, and that's not nothing against Kentucky, because they've always been a team that we've kind of struggled with in the past here recently. That what was it last year?
A couple years ago.
I think we beat them by 2 points.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, we've had some close games with Kentucky.
So lately. I mean, if we go in and we only take care of business by a touchdown or so, I mean, it's a win, but it's not going to be enough to bump us up in the rankings for us to be in a better spot for playoff contention and to control our destiny.
Yeah. Obviously, we'll see what Georgia can do against Kentucky this week. They play at home again, so I mean that's good. So hopefully they can right the ship. And
so my bad, I don't want to cut you off, but fun fact. Georgia is ranked 13 or 12?
I think 12.
So if you go and look, I mean, if the season ended today, we barely make the playoffs. Rank wise, it's 1 through 12.
I think so. We're going to be on the fringe. I don't know exactly how it shakes out, because we could be maybe one out. It's according to
isn't it ranked 1 through 12 though?
It's not 1 through 12. It's 1 through 12, and then you have you're champions. So the group of 5 has one in. So their highest ranked team, I can't remember. I'd have to take a look at the rankings.
So honestly,
we would be the first team out, I think. So we're right there on the fringe. So we got to continue to win games if we want to stay in playoff contention.
Yeah.
We'll see, man. And then on the flip side, Alabama, big game this week. Vandy comes to town. Remember last year, Vandy upset Bama. And so, they're playing in Tuscaloosa this year. But, Vandy's coming to town. Vandy's offense is very, very good. Vandy's a decent football team. So I think College Game Day is going to Tuscaloosa this week for that game. So big game for Bama off of an emotional win. So hopefully that's not a game that they get tripped up on. But we'll see, man. I'm excited to see, what Bama does from here because they started off the year and had a terrible loss.
Yeah.
And we kind of wrote them off. And I was like, we just need to just wait because I feel like, with football, you get better every week. And they've turned it around. And with Georgia, this is kind of the same thing. Now you've lost. What are you going to learn from this loss? What are you going to learn from the struggles before this loss? Are we going to be able to turn it around? And I think this is the prime opportunity for them to kind of go in the lab and kind of fix the issues that they have, and so they can finish the season strong. So I'm excited to see what both teams do this week, and that's we'll see. Man, we also saw Saturday, some other really, really good games, some key games, some telling games, in my opinion. First, we saw Texas A&M play Auburn in a very, very low scoring struggle. Obviously, I think we've seen by now, Auburn's defense is pretty good. But A&M, they've shown that they can put up some points, but they kind of struggled, man. I feel like Marcel Reed, the quarterback for A&M, I feel like he's got to be better. I would have expected Texas A&M to pull away. But this was a dogfight the whole way, and A&M in certain ways are kind of lucky that they were able to pull this win out. Because 16-10, we're talking less than one possession. If anything goes awry, fumble recovery for a touchdown, a pick six, a block kick, the tables would have turned immediately. Texas A&M, they kind of got, I don't want to say lucky, but it's I feel like they look underwhelming with Marcel Reed, in my opinion. I think he needs to play better. Offensively, Auburn is not good on offense at all. They look terrible. Jackson Arnold is just not it. I don't know what it is about this offense, but they are struggling bunches. And obviously Texas A&M's got a good defense, but I would expect a little bit more out of the offense from Auburn, but Texas A&M, tough win, tough, gritty win on the road. So I think Texas A&M is a good football team. I just need to see more from Marcel Reed. I think the consistency is going to be what ends up biting them at some point in the year.
He's got a lot of potential. So, I think he's all right. I think he's not going to leave Texas A&M this season. He'll probably play another season. So he's got a lot of potential, man. And
he's got a lot of growth, man.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of growth. He's still raw, and you see it with his play. He's not the greatest passer in the world. He just needs to get better. Needs to get better at throwing on time. Don't hold the ball as long. Stop trying to play hero ball. Stop trying to play backyard football. And be a little bit more accurate. And I think like I said before the season started, I think he's the key to how good A&M's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we saw Tennessee. Tennessee's like, I don't know what it is. Like, when you have a level of faith in them, it just seems like they either come up short or they put more question marks than answers. They go in overtime game with Mississippi State and barely come out with a victory. Like, Mississippi State is a good football team, but I expected Tennessee to go and win this game and pull away. And Tennessee's defense continues to give up points. And, to start the season, Tennessee's defense looked good. So I'd kind of thought like, okay, defensively, if they're as good as they look, this team's going to be really, really good and can beat anybody. But as the season's gone on, obviously we saw, a shootout when they played Georgia, and now they're, giving up 34 points to Mississippi State. To me, that's not a good look for Tennessee. Like, to me, I'm got more questions now because I don't have the faith in them as I had before because they're giving up so many points, and you can't give up that many points week in, week out and win football games. You're going to end up getting got eventually. But wild game, obviously get a win in overtime, big run up the left for a touchdown, but Tennessee's got to get it together on defense because it's when you go and play the better teams in the country, they're going to be able to put points on you, and you got to be able to get stops and get the game back in your favor. And Tennessee's defense is kind of struggling. It could be the Achilles heel for this football team. Indiana, in a close matchup with Iowa. Obviously, Iowa, has a history of, having a really, really good defense, but not being able to score. And that's exactly what we saw. Indiana obviously coming off a big win last week against Illinois, and had a struggle to get a win against Iowa, but they got it done. So I don't know who Indiana plays this week, but I know next week they got to go to Oregon, so that's gonna be a big matchup. But Indiana, got a tough, gritty win, man. Georgia Tech, 17-point comeback against Wake Forest. They barely won this football game.
Georgia Tech was down.
They were down,
the majority of this game. Well, the whole game, pretty much.
I think they only led until the last part of the game.
Yeah, I looked up the score, or I seen it, and it was up. I could be wrong. I think it was 14-0. I think.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it's not. I knew there's a lot of ball left, but I just didn't expect Georgia Tech to go down against Wake Forest like that.
Yeah. Watching them in the second half slowly come back, and you're hoping they come back. They're a good team that has promise this year, and it's like they barely get it done. They got it done, but I see this when I see this, especially with an opponent like Wake Forest, who's not a very good team, by the way. To me, that's I don't know if that's red flags or if that's just a bad week.
An off game.
Exactly.
It's one of those is a question mark, and it's only going to be answered next week. And I don't know who Georgia Tech plays next week, but if they play anything like this, they're probably going to lose whoever they're playing next week. You can't play like this every. You can't play. You can never play like this and expect to win a game. You got to play 4 quarters.
Yeah. You can't just, try to come back in the second half or just start out slow. Georgia Tech, they kind of, I'm going to keep an eye on them and to see what's going on, because I just feel like to play like this against the Wake Forest team is
29 points is a lot of points for a team like that.
It is. I expected Georgia Tech to take care of business, and they won, but not in the fashion that they should have. Notre Dame, played a very good game, actually. I expected this game to be high scoring and close. And by the time that I looked at the score of this game, they were up by 20. Notre Dame took care of business. I think they were a 6-point favorite, on the road. So I expect this game to be close. Arkansas can score, and they came out and took care of business. Notre Dame has improved tons from the beginning of the year, in my opinion. What I've seen from them is actually very, very impressive. And I think that going forward, Notre Dame is a team that potentially could win out, and they're going to be right in the mix.
The money, I wasn't really surprised with this outcome. I don't watch a lot of, I watch college, but I don't watch a whole lot. But the money line for Notre Dame was -4,
something
70.
like that.
That's not a given that they're going to win, but it's a good sign that they're going to win by at least 20 points.
Yeah.
And look at the score, 56-13. That's a smackdown. The Hogs had no chance, man.
They they came out and did what good teams are supposed to do. Went and took care of business, man. Notre Dame looks good. Next, a couple newsworthy things happened this week, man. We saw Arkansas fire their head coach Sam Pittman. Really not a surprise. He's had a very lackluster run there. Obviously losing big this week to Notre Dame. And he really has not had this team trending in the way that they probably thought. They at certain points have looked worse and worse every week, throughout his tenure. So not surprised there. Oklahoma State. This one actually surprised me. Oklahoma State fired Mike Gundy. And Mike Gundy, has been with Oklahoma State for over 20 years, was an alum, played quarterback there. With as good as they are, I'm not surprised because Oklahoma State's not very good. Let's be real. But just him being an alum and being an Oklahoma State guy, I'm kind of surprised that they didn't at least let him finish the year. So that was a quite of a shocker. And obviously the biggest news so far, really of the year with college football, Oklahoma quarterback Heisman favorite John Mateer hurt his thumb in last week's game against Auburn and ended up needing surgery. Ended up breaking his thumb and had surgery on Wednesday and is going to be out for about 5 to 6 weeks. And that's a major blow to the Sooners, man, because he had them primed and ready to make a real run. And I think right now they're ranked around 7, but they're going to have to fend off some good football teams without him until he gets back, man. That's a tough blow to, one of the best teams in the country, losing one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
And what sucks is, with that kind of injury, he's going to have to rest his hand. He can't really do much. He can't really, he can't throw a ball. And even when he, does or is able to come back, who's to know if that's the same team then? Yeah. So like you said, hopefully they can fend off these next few games, man. And hopefully Mateer can come back and look like the same guy, man. Because, not that a broken thumb is going to change your whole career, but, it's just a big delay in their season right now, man. Being ranked 7, that's and we're already like what?
Almost halfway.
Yeah, we're 4 weeks in, man. We're about to be 5, so hopefully he can come back.
Yeah, it just that's a tough blow, man, and hopefully Oklahoma can kind of keep things together and when he comes back, continue the season that they've had. Next, we'll look at the AP poll, man. We saw some movement in the poll, and as I've said before, I'm not really like the greatest supporter of the AP poll, but I actually like this week's AP poll. I think they did a good job with where they kind of moved some teams around, man. Obviously Georgia, falls to 12. That's kind of about where I have them. I like where teams are because I think what it does is it allows teams, because we still have a lot of football to play, but there's, some teams that kind of can win themselves back into contention. And there's some teams that I feel like are on the fringe that we're going to see, with the games that they play. So
yeah,
seeing this poll is very, very interesting.
For sure.
Notre Dame is a team that kind of is standing out to me. Ranked 21. I'm not sure what I think about Notre Dame being 21 because I think they're a very, very good football team. And, they go and win big, from a betting standpoint, 6-point favorite, and they go win by, I think it was around almost 40.
Yeah,
so like.
I agree with your decision here or your assumption because Georgia Tech played Wake Forest and barely won. They came back with a 17-point unanswered points, man, and came back and scored that, and they won the game. But Notre Dame playing the way they did against a better team, I think they just deserve a better rank, a way better rank, to be honest. I think they deserve to be at least top 20, man. That's at least.
They do. We'll take a look at, actually I've got my rankings here. I did my own rankings. This isn't based on the AP or anything. This is more of just, I see the games and I rank teams by how good I think they are. This is kind of yeah, exactly. And I think I have things a little different. Obviously I still have Tennessee up there. I've got Alabama a little higher than they've got them. But I mean, the way that teams are the rankings are shaping out, I think is very interesting because it's putting certain teams in prime positions to either, if they're that good, the play on the field is going to prove it, and they're going to move into position. So I think a team like Vandy, a team like Missouri's undefeated right now. If they continue to win, they're going to move up. I think they're a team that actually no one's really looking at right now. I have them, I think, a little higher than they had in the AP. I think I've got them the same as the AP, but they're a team I like right now. I think they're playing some good football. But I'm kind of impressed with the rankings right now. I like where teams are. It looks good. I'm excited to see how things are going to shake out. And then lastly, we'll take a look at this upcoming week's games, man. We got a good slate. I think there's some sneaky good games here. Obviously, the biggest game of the week, Miami travels to Florida State, really for what I would say Miami's next best test. And Florida State really, in my opinion, hasn't been tested necessarily. And the reason I would say that is because I think when they played Alabama, I just don't think Alabama played very well. I just think it was just an off day for Alabama. And I think this is really Florida State's first real test. Interesting game. Obviously, rivalry game, big ACC matchup. This is going to be a game that really determines the ACC championship. But very, very interesting game. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing this game. We've got Vandy traveling to Alabama. Big matchup, really, for the SEC, because right now it looks like I think Vandy's undefeated and Bama's undefeated within conference. So this is going to be another game that determines the conference championship potentially. We see Mississippi State travel to Texas A&M. And interesting game because Mississippi State is a good football team that I feel like no one's really looking at. Texas A&M did not score very many points this past week. I think their offense sputtered a lot. And so I'm excited to see what this team does against Mississippi State, who can put some points on the board. I think it's going to be closer than people think. Next, Texas Tech, a team that I've really been high on. I think they potentially should be on upset alert. Houston's a okay football team. And I think, especially with what they do at quarterback, I've not seen if they're going with Morton or not as their starter, or if he's still out with a concussion. But Texas Tech, I think, needs to make sure they go into this game and play their best. We see Boise State. Boise State's traveling to Notre Dame. It's weird, like looking at these games, I'm looking at that game like, okay, Notre Dame's a really, really good football team. But I feel like Boise plays such quality football usually all the time. I think this is a game that if this game was a 4-quarter game and one possession game in the fourth quarter, I wouldn't be surprised. Or if Notre Dame goes and beats them by 40, I would not be surprised here. I just think that's a game to kind of keep an eye on. Texas kind of looked like they kind of figured some things out last week, but they got to go to Florida. They got to go to the Swamp. And even though the Florida's not really what people thought they were, Florida's defense is still top level. Florida's got probably a top 10 or so defense in the country. Their defense is very, very good. They just have not figured it out on offense. So I'm really excited to see Arch Manning play this defense on the road in a hostile environment like the Swamp. Florida, offensively may not be great, but I will say that they're probably going to come out with some energy playing against a team like Texas. And then lastly, we've got Kentucky traveling to Athens. Georgia's looking to rebound off of a tough loss at home against Bama, and we'll see what they look like offensively to maybe get some things rolling and kind of get the ship back on the right path here. Really good slate of games, man. I think this is a good slate of games. I'm excited.
I'm excited about all these games, man. I'm just excited. Football is here, man. I love football. Can't wait, brother.
Yeah, this weekend I feel like it's gonna be another good one. Another exciting slate. I like seeing these matchups. I like seeing these teams getting better and better because it makes the season better and better. Really, really excited, man. Great week 5, and I look forward to a great week 6. I expect nothing but the best, man.
Nothing but the best, and hopefully, man, no injuries, man. It's just a lot of injuries within the college and NFL.
Yeah,
man, it's awful.
Stay healthy out there, man. This college edition of the Speaking Heat podcast, man. It's good to get on here and talk some ball, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yes, sir.